Hi everyone, thanks for joining. We're going to continue our contract management series here today, but with a bit of a twist. The twist is portfolio analytics, objective that we're going to try to illustrate how leaders can be provided with actionable insight. So the lesson plan objectives to have improvement plan based on objective criteria applied in a consistent fashion across the vendor base. Goal number 2 is business reallocation decisions get made in a way that align with overall portfolio objectives. And goal number 3 is there's a sliceable visualization that can be syndicated across the organization in a way to align with the enterprise priorities. So the background here is this whole notion of portfolio management originated in finance with the development of risk-return optimization models. For those of you with a finance background, Sharp and Markowitz should ring a bell. Contract portfolio analytics are much simpler. Most contract management systems provide reasonable set of descriptive inventory statistics. And what I mean by that is, so many of this and so many of that. So most CMS systems do a reasonable job of that. I would qualify it a little bit and say it is dependent on the meta tag structure. If the meta tags are badly designed, then maybe you don't get everything you need. Item 4, Exhibit 4 rather, is basically abstracted from a recent brief on contract automation. The items in green will be incorporated into the portfolio model we're going to try and develop. So here's an example of 7 or 8 4-box portfolio models. We do have a McKinsey 7-box model here. The SWOT analysis is, everyone's familiar with that. The BCG matrix, been around for a while. People are familiar with that. We're all familiar, those of us in IT, we're all familiar with the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and we've got a few others here. We're going to construct a 4-layer model in reverse order. First item here is to look at the sliceable dimension elements that we have in place. And the first one is the business unit name, category, and supplier name. Now, it would vary with the specifics. Second are the axis on which computations are being made. So you can see one axis here, strategic relationship, and the others, to what extent are the deals cost effective. And so we're able to plot the bubble sizes based on the spend dollars, and we have a sliceable model that will slice for BU name, category, and supplier name. Very nice. Okay, so now when we drill down a layer, we bump into something that I call a governance model. It's a reasonable 4-box model describing what vendor management governance teams might look like. We've got operational performance, business management, financial management, and relationship management. But I think these are nice basic building blocks, foundational building blocks. You can see also we've got subcategory design elements in here: service delivery capability, business continuity, compliance, stability, innovation pipeline, PMO, joint reviews, that kind of thing. So that's item 2. Item 3 are each one of these items then decomposes into what I call design elements. So these are the design elements that are arrayed vertically. These elements are then qualified by deal benchmark guidelines. You can see A level, B, C level, obviously for licenses and SaaS deals or whatever, what counts factors would be different. We have our design elements. They're qualified by what's in our playbook for the definition of a quality contract. And then the most important thing is these items are scored. So let's pick this one as an example, innovation improvement. We've got quarterly roadmap, we've got semi-annual roadmap. So on this particular example, we're doing some of this. On the A-level stuff, they're doing some of that. So we're going to give this particular supplier, which is supplier number 1, in business unit number A, we're going to give them a 2.5. This one here, a 1, on deal management, we've got some bad things. Now, I've redacted them because this does represent some intellectual property that I want to keep a bit confidential. So you can see on this particular one, we've graded him a 1. And on this one, we've graded them a 3. So we go through and we provide grades on what the design elements are for all the suppliers across the 4-box model. The scores are then tabulated. See the 1.75 here corresponds to the 1.75 here. We've got the BU name, supplier name, category, and spending associated with that category. And we do that for all the suppliers, BUs, and platforms. Now, this can get tedious. The abstraction is done with some scripting code. I can represent the abstraction of that into a tabular model is pretty straightforward, which allows for changes, right? It'll accommodate changes and corrections, blah, blah, blah. So now we're going to, now we get to look at the model. We're going to query the data model. We'll start with the matrix view, and then we'll reconstruct the visual in a new tab. So here's the matrix view. And this is pretty much a verbatim of what was illustrated previously, right? So you can see we've got our slicers, BU name, category, supplier name. And so this is a garden vanilla tabular view. So if we take, for example, BU AA, we've got some platforms. We've got 2 different platforms here from 2 different suppliers. We've got some development, and we've got them arrayed across an axis of relationship and cost. Let's look at CC. Well, a lot going on here, right? They've got apps, platforms, development, etc. So we can go through and we can basically scan what's going on in these different BUs. That's one way. The other way of accomplishing it is to hit the applications themselves to see where all the applications lie. And we can see we've got them scattered between over 4 different BUs. We've got 4 different suppliers providing applications. Here we've got supplier number 4 providing 2 different types of development dollars. Pricing is about the same, but with one BU, they're very strategic, or they're not very strategic at all. And with the other, they're pretty good. So what's happening with this particular supplier? Why have things gone astray with one BU versus another? And the reality may simply be that the grading may not have been calibrated. So this is an example of the kind of thing we get sorted out on as it got built out. That's the sliceable view. Now, how did we get here? How were we able to do this? So for those of you that are interested in digging into it, we go to Power BI. Here's a scatter chart. Basically take put the sum into the size. This will generate the size of the bubble. We want the strategy piece on the X. We want cost effective on the Y. In the values, we want BU name and category, supplier name here. Looks a little different than what we have here. But from here on in is formatting. Take our X axis. We want a minimum of 1 and a max of 3. On the y-axis, we want to replicate that. We want a minimum of 1 and we want a max of 3. A symmetry view of it. And you can see that this is now starting to resemble our final matrix visual. At the end of the day, what we have is a very logical way to parse out our portfolio of deals. Okay, let's go back to our lesson plan. So what is the call to action? I think the first step here, as you can see, is to identify and discover the critical dimension elements. And by that, I mean we want to define the BU names, category descriptors, spend amounts, supplier names, and maybe a few others. Step 2 would be to build out the approach with 2, perhaps 3 suppliers. But I'd like to see them span multiple BUs and categories. And we'll do it with just manual and validated scores because we want to test out the model. We want to make sure that folks are comfortable with the visual, the slicers, etc. Step 3 would be to build out a trial version with perhaps 10, maybe 15 suppliers, but with validated scores that are linked to the deal provisions. And we saw earlier how those deal provisions would be used to score the design elements. So we'd want to have something real with essentially a field trial. Finally, why this approach and why now? I'd say that most practitioners do a reasonable job of describing the conceptual issues of portfolio management, but that's 20% of the win. I think the rubber meets the road when we want to operationalize models that scale. That's real capability that's being delivered, to the enterprise. In my view, it's 80% of the win. And of course, it's all of the EBITDA that would come from providing the leaders with actionable insight about how to restructure various portions of the portfolio. We want to grow the leaders. We want to rationalize the laggards. We want to provide a bit more optionality into various provisions, trying to build resiliency into the portfolio. And we do that, of course, at the deal level. Hope this works. Give me a buzz if there are any additional questions or comments. Thank you. Bye-bye.